Namaste, my name is Amish Tripathi and I'm the director of the Nehru Centre London. Now, some may think of Nehru Centre as just this beautiful fine building, and it is a fine building, no doubt. We have a wonderful art gallery out here. We have an awesome auditorium on the first floor with a capacity of 100 to 120 people right here in the heart of central London in Mayfair. But the Nehru Centre is a lot more than this fine building. The Nehru Centre is also an online platform. We are available on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram and on YouTube. And so the Nehru Centre is actually wherever you want it to be. Of course, we'd love for you to come to the physical events that we organize out here when we do organize them. But do join all our online platforms as well. This is a hybrid world. We are going to have offline physical events and online events as well. So do join our online platforms and do keep giving us feedback of what you think of it. We'd love to host you out there. We'd love to hear what you think of our events, and do keep sending in your suggestions as well. We do keep imbibing and learning from the feedback that you give to us to give you programs that you guys might enjoy. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Namaste. Jai Hind. Namaste, my name is Amish Tripathi and I'm the director of the Nehru Centre and Minister of Culture at the High Commission of India to the UK. And both the High Commission and the Nehru Centre are particularly delighted with this program that we are putting up today. It is in celebration of 50 years of friendship, 50 years of brotherhood indeed, between India and Bangladesh. Prime Ministers Modi and Prime Minister Hasina have spoken repeatedly of the strong bonds between India and Bangladesh. Prime Minister Modi ji has spoken of Swarnadhyay and the Maitri Setu between Bangladesh and India. And we are, of course, delighted to be adding our own small contribution to strengthening this living bridge between our two brother countries, India and Bangladesh. And to speak of this Swarnim Varsh of 50 years of Bangladeshi liberation, or 50 years of Bangladesh's existence as an independence country, we have put together this program which is helmed by Priyajit Debsarkar, who comes from the Indian side of Bengal but is as deeply rooted in the Bangladeshi side of Bengali culture as well. If Priyajit Debsarkar can be brought up on stage, please.
Thank you very much. And Namaskar, Tripathi ji. Thank you very much for your kind words. I'm very grateful that for your introduction. And obviously, both India and Bangladesh, I think, shares an umbilical cord relationship, which is inseparable in nature. However, we might have a few minor glitches, but that's what, the people of the same family belong to. So we are very grateful to the Nehru Centre and the various Indian consulates who have put together this wonderful program, and the panelists where we will get a very balanced opinion, because we will have speakers not only from Bangladesh but India and also Pakistan. So we will try to encapsulate a full overarching picture of the episode of 1971 Liberation War.
Wonderful, Priyajit, and there couldn't be a better person to help this program than you. You're based in the UK and you have love for India and Bangladesh. You're deeply rooted in Bengali culture. You have taught in universities in the UK, and we are so grateful for you for accepting our request to helm this program. And over to you, Priyajit, if you can invite our guests on stage, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tripathi. Thank you. So as you have rightly identified, that this is the Swarnadhyay, or the 50 years of the Golden Jubilee celebrations for the Bangladesh liberation, but also this year 2021 marks the centenary celebrations of the founding father of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So we need to remember him as well, because he was the principal architect of this entire Bengali culture, and the focal point of which was the byproduct of the 1947 separation, which I call is the division of Punjab and Bengal, geographically speaking. So I think we have got a very excellent panel here. So I would firstly like to invite a short video speech recorded, because the first speaker whom we have could not attend on the live session as due to COVID restrictions and some travel commitments. He is none other than Mr. Shahriar Kabir. He's a journalist, filmmaker, and human rights activist. He's an author of more than 70 books from Dhaka, Bangladesh. He has actively participated in the Bangladesh Liberation War. He was a student leader in Dhaka University when the first massacre of Operation Searchlight happened. So it is a great honor to have this Bangla Academy Literary Awarded intellectual on our panel, and we would like to hear his submission.
This year, in 2021, Bangladesh is celebrating 50 years of its independence. That is the Golden Jubilee. During the Liberation War of 1971, 3 million people sacrificed their lives. On official account, it is 200,000, but on unofficial account, many scholars and researchers mention that nearly 500,000 women were violated during the Liberation War, and 10 million people were forced to leave Bangladesh, who took shelter in neighboring India. It was a huge price we paid during the Liberation War of Bangladesh for the independence of Bangladesh. Not only the Bangladeshi people, at that time, Indian government headed by Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi, and the Indian Armed Forces and Indian people in general, they supported the cause of Bangladesh. Several thousand members of the Indian Armed Forces, they also sacrificed their lives on the soil of Bangladesh just to liberate us from the Pakistani occupation army's brutality. And on this occasion, I'd like to pay my tribute to those who sacrificed their lives for the liberation of Bangladesh, to see a country that enacted a magnificent constitution in 1972, which enshrined democracy, nationalism, socialism, and secularism as its basic principles. So that is the country we achieved in 1971 through a bloody liberation war. And Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and his associates who framed the Constitution of 1972, they also mentioned that henceforth formation of religion-based parties will be prohibited in Bangladesh. The reason is that during the 24 years colonial rule of the Pakistani government in Bangladesh, they tried to justify whatever the exploitation, repression, or the just rights of Bengali people. They tried to suppress it in the name of religion. When we cried for our right to speak in our own language, they said this is anti-Pakistan, this is anti-Islam. When we cried for democracy, when we cried for autonomy, our movements were suppressed in the name of Islam or for the sake of integrity of Pakistan. And that is the plea of the killing 3 million people in 1971. Those were killed in the name of Islam or for the integrity of Pakistan. That's the reason Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and his associates who led the liberation war, they presented a magnificent constitution that also prohibited formation of religion-based politics. And Bangabandhu explained it categorically in his 4th November's speech in while adopting the constitution. And his concept of secularism is quite different from the Western concept of secularism. In the West, secularism tantamount to some extent the atheism, the negation of religion even from the private personal life. But Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, as of Jawaharlal Nehru of India, their concept of secularism was not negation of religion. That simply they said religion will be separated from state affairs. But what is the uniqueness of Bangladesh? Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman not only separated religion from the state, he also separated religion from the politics. That is the uniqueness of Bangladesh's constitution, but unfortunately in 1975, after the brutal assassination of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of the nation, the pro-Pakistani fundamentalist communal sectarian forces, they assumed power and they removed 4 basic principles from the constitution, and they tried to Pakistanize the society and politics. Since 1975, this is the irony of the history of Bangladesh, most of the time this country was ruled by those anti-liberation element, those who killed Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. But now Bangabandhu's daughter Sheikh Hasina is in power, and she reintroduced the constitution of 1972, but it is partly she reintroduced it. Still there are some legacy of communalism or fundamentalism in the constitution, and civil society in Bangladesh. We are fighting for the restoration of the original constitution. But during these 50 years, we have achieved a lot, particularly under the leadership of Bangabandhu's daughter, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. So far as the indicator shows in the social or economic development, our achievement is unparalleled. It has created history. We also created history while trying the war criminals, the perpetrators of Bangladesh genocide after 40 years, which was prohibited by General Ziaur Rahman after the assassination of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. But Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina initiated the trial of the perpetrators of genocide, and now we are looking forward to try the Pakistani generals, the member of the armed forces, the Pakistani High Command, who are responsible for committing genocide in Bangladesh. And because of this impunity the Pakistani army is enjoying, they are continuing similar genocidal acts on its own people in Balochistan, in Sindh, or on the Pashtun people. So it is very unfortunate. We have our friends in Pakistan. We are all crying for justice to the victims of genocide, as well as trial of the perpetrators of the Bangladesh genocide. And at the same time, we condemn all kinds of genocides across the world that is still occurring in many, many countries. Even in Afghanistan, we can see the genocide is continuing there. Again, that is backed by the Pakistan. So the Bangladesh, the country we are living now, is a peace-loving country. We do not promote any kind of criminal or terrorist activities on our own soil. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, many times she said, expressed her zero tolerance to terrorism, and we do believe that the constitution we achieved in 1972, or the goals, the spirit we inherit from the liberation war of Bangladesh, that is secular humanism, it will continue, we will continue to educate our younger generation in the spirit of the liberation war of Bangladesh, and we'll continue our fight for a secular humanist society, not only in Bangladesh, but in other countries across the world. So that is our dream, and definitely we do believe that we will be succeeded. The evil communal and fundamentalist forces, the terrorists, they will be defeated as we defeated them in 1971. Thank you very much.
That was wonderful words from Mr. Kabir, where we can see the pain and how much torture was inflicted on the Bengali people, irrespective of their caste, class, religion, in 1971. So we thank him very much for his time. We are happy to take any questions, and we will definitely direct it to them from the viewers and get an answer later on. Now, I would like to invite our second speaker, who has joined all the way from Canada, and it is pretty early out there. So we are very grateful to Mr. Tahir Aslam Gora. He's a Canadian broadcaster, editor, and publisher, translator, and has written multitude of books of both fiction and non-fiction in nature. He had to flee Pakistan in 1999 following threats for his liberal values and his, candid voice, which he always puts up the truth, whatever the consequences are. He is also a member of the Muslim Reform Movement and the founder of Tag TV, which is a voice I think a lot of our viewers are quite familiar with. Mr. Gora Sahab, we warmly welcome you from a very damp afternoon in London here. And we would like to hear from you, sir, because you were also a student activist in Punjab, in Lahore at that point of time in 1971. So we'd be very grateful to share if you could share your experience and thoughts, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Priyaji, and thank you very much, all honorable speakers today. Absolutely, it is an honor for me to share my views on this very important occasion. And I'm very grateful to Nehru Centre, England, to arranging this very important discussion. So with the permission of Honorable Lord Rami Rangerji, Honorable Dr. Sayyed, and very dear Amish Tripathi ji, and dear Vineet Joshi ji and Priyaji ji. As of Pakistani origin, as you mentioned, I'm extremely sorry for what Pakistan has done with Bangladeshi brothers and sisters. Such words should have come out of Pakistani state machinery mouth, not me, but they are still on the path of Baloch, Sindhi, Muhajir, and Pashtun genocide. Sadly, Pakistani state is a shameless entity. Based on those sad events in history, I have renounced Pakistani citizenship a long ago. However, as of Pakistani origin and as of proud Indian descendant, I congratulate Bangladesh on celebrating 50th anniversary of Bangladesh independence. Bangladesh is advancing her progress, prosperity, and position on world stage much better than Pakistan. The creation of Bangladesh and its successful path towards today's compatible modern world proved two-nation theory a false narrative. Bangladesh, a nation and a country comprised of diversity, is proud of its culture and heritage. Bangladesh's sacrifices for its independence must be saluted by free thinkers and freedom lovers. We must also remember millions who gave their lives to create a beautiful country on our planet. According to the World Bank, Bangladesh has an impressive track record of growth and poverty reduction. It has been among the fastest growing economies in the world over the past decade. Supported by a demographic dividend, strong ready-made garments exports, and stable macroeconomic as well as microeconomic conditions. Continued recovery in exports and consumption will help growth rates pick up to 6.4% in fiscal year 2021 and 2022. As opposed to the situation in today's Pakistan, Bangladesh is way far ahead in terms of poverty reduction, in terms of economic growth, in terms of cultural growth. Bangladesh tells the world a remarkable story of poverty reduction and development from being one of the poorest nations at birth in 1971, with per capita GDP 10th lowest in the world. Bangladesh reached lower middle income status in 2015. It is on track to graduate from the UN's least developed countries list in 2026. Poverty declined from 43 to 5% in 1991 to 14.3% in 2016 based on the international poverty line of $2 a day. In retrospect, Bangladesh can be proud of many of its achievements of the past 5 decades. However, much more is needed to be done in the area of promotion of democracy, good governance, and strengthening of Bangladesh's core institutions that are entrusted to safeguard the constitutional rights and liberties of its citizens. Speaking at Swarnim Vijay Varsh Conclave 2021, India's Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringlaji said that the spirit of friendship and mutual respect engendered during the liberation of Bangladesh continues to permeate different aspects of the relationship between two countries. In his remarks at the Swarnim Vijay Varsh Conclave 2021, on humanitarian, political, and diplomatic facets of the 1971 war. Honorable Shringlaji also lauded the role of Indian Air Force in the war, saying it played a crucial role in supporting the valiant struggle of the Mukti Bahani. He asserted that 1971 was as much a moral and political victory as it was a decisive military victory for India. Quoted, quote, "We stood on a high moral and ethical ground, and history proved us right as the people of Bangladesh vindicated their self-respect and honor and won their fight for freedom and human rights," unquote, the Foreign Secretary said. Never before in the recent history of our nation, quote, has humanity ever witnessed an act of calculated genocide, unquote, Shringlaji said, pointing to the atrocities committed by Pakistan on the people of then East Pakistan. These were some of the notes I shared with you, fellows and viewers. In the end, I would like to share some of my very personal attachment to the to this great victory of and great independence of Bangladesh. As Priyajit said, I happen to be student leader and I happen to be political activist, human rights activist as well. I strongly urge my Bangladeshi brothers and sisters to not take the path of Pakistani mindset, because this is just a suicidal path. This is just a disastrous path. So again, I would love to congratulate my brothers and sisters in Bangladesh on their golden jubilee of independence. Long live Bangladesh, long live India, long live Bangladesh-India friendship.
That is wonderful to hear your experience and your words of caution and advice. Obviously, congratulating Bangladesh, and I quite agree that definitely, the difference between the Punjabi and the Bengali clash, which identity which took place in 1971. So, thank you very much, sir. It was very insightful to hear from you. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now introduce our third guest speaker, who is from London. It's a great pleasure to welcome Lord Raminder Singh Ranger. Lord Ranger is a very popular figure in the UK Indian diaspora and also other diaspora as well of Asian origin. He holds Order of British Empire. Order of British Empire title, and he is also deeply drenched in not only his day job, which is he runs a very successful company, but he has a very overarching and a very wide ranging activities to help the communities, especially here in England, to stay in connect with the motherland. So and I am also aware that Lord Ranger has some personal attachment to the 1971 Liberation War as part of the armed forces and his family legacy. So we'd like to welcome Lord Ranger onto the show, and Lord Ranger will be very grateful if you could share your experience, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Prajit, for such a kind introduction, and I'm very grateful for inviting me to this important event. I am thankful to Mr. Gora for articulating his views so eloquently and making the case, which was so uh, good to hear a Pakistani talking fairly what happened, not rather than taking a side of Pakistan. He has been objective and honest in his assessment. And I'm also very grateful to Dr. Tripathi for hosting this webinar. Dr. Tripathi is a very young, dynamic diplomat who represents the best in India. And I'm very grateful to share platform with another Mr. Maunam from Dhaka. So let me first of all congratulate every Bengali for their 50th Independence Day, a celebration that we are today hosting, that we are celebrating the liberation of Bangladesh. Today, it's taken a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hardship, but today they are actually free to celebrate the independence, to promote their culture, they promote their language, and promote their community as they deem fit. They are not no longer under the control of West Pakistan, which was running the country and never accepted Bengalis as equal. Uh, the independence of Bangladesh was the vision, as you heard from Prajit, of the father of the nation, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Bangabandhu, who was determined to make sure that Pakistanis do not continue to exploit the people of Bangladesh. They did not accept the democratic result of the election. Anyway, the independence is also result of the commitment of the volunteers of Mukti Bahini and the India and Indian soldiers. So there were quite a few factors which helped Bangladesh become independent. Because it is worth remembering that America was an ally of Pakistan and threatened India from helping the people of Bangladesh who were being butchered by the Pakistani army and were pouring into India as a refugee to escape the brutality. There was no support from Burma, which was under Chinese control. The only country which opened the door was India. The independent Bangladesh proved Mr. Jinnah's theory wrong, that Muslim can only live with Muslim. In fact, Muslims committed genocide against fellow Muslims on an unparalleled scale. Millions of innocent Muslims were killed and the Pakistani army raped many women. India supported the Mukti Bahini and intervened when the situation became bleak. It is, I am very proud that one of my brother was posted in Assam in training the Mukti Bahini, who were so committed, so passionate. They did not have sophisticated weaponry. Whatever India could give, they were ready to use it, and they were ready to sacrifice life, but they were fed up with the treatment they received from their masters. Soldiers of Mukti Bahini were so committed that they were ready to fight without sophisticated weapons. The independence of Bangladesh was gained by the supreme sacrifice of Indian soldiers and Bengali volunteers. The independence of Bangladesh is a miracle. The blood of India and Bangladesh was sent for freedom of the Bengali people. I hope our blood bond of friendship will remain unshakable, as without Indian involvement, the superpowers like America and China would have allowed the Pakistani army to oppress Bangladeshi people indefinitely. One Pakistani general was heard saying that he would change the Bengali race. They never treated Bengali as equal. The Bengali language was undermined and the Urdu was imposed upon them. The rich culture of Bengal was systematically destroyed. As they say, a friend in need is a friend indeed, and the friend was India. I hope the people of Bengal will never forget the help of India, no matter how much inducement is given by China to make a place for itself in Bangladesh. But you have to see the past track record and the history. Wherever they go, they control that country. They've just taken over the Entebbe airport from Uganda for non-payment of their loans. So therefore, they've also taken a port in Sri Lanka. All that glitter is not gold. First of all, before we forge a relationship with a nation, we have to see how they treat their own citizen. Look at the way Chinese are treated. They have no freedom. They cannot form a political party. They cannot express their view. They are regimental. And on top of that, over 1 million Muslim, Uyghur Muslim, are in concentration camp. Women are being forced to abort their children. So how can you even imagine and think of having a relationship in a communist country where freedom for human being is non-existent? So therefore, it's a word of warning to Bangladesh that you must remember those who came to your rescue at the most critical time of your life. I urge the Bengali people to have a Holocaust Museum in Dhaka for the next generation to see how the independence was won and how people paid the ultimate sacrifice to be free. So that Holocaust Museum should be a reminder to next generation that their independence was so precious that they must work hard and live up to ideals of the Bangabandhu and make Bangladesh a positive force in the world. And I'm very pleased to see that the Bengali people are working very hard in the United Kingdom. Most of the curry industries run by Bengali people. They have become a very respectable community, a positive force ever since they have broken up their relationship with Pakistan. Because otherwise, look what happened, as Mr. Gora said yesterday, a Sri Lankan was killed in cold blood because the religious intolerance is so paramount in Pakistan. A country came about with the help of religion is now systematically being destroyed by religion because religious tolerance is prerequisite. And in Pakistan, I am told that they teach in the books very filthy things about Hindus and non-believers and Ahmadiyas and Christians and Sikhs and all that. What kind of citizen are they going to produce if they are not going to have diversity flourishing in the country? So therefore, I salute to the leader of Bangladesh who opted for a secular constitution, because secular constitution will stop infighting in the name of religion. Everybody should be equal, regardless of what race, what religion, what gender they are. Because by devaluing people with the help of religion is only scoring your own goal, because it doesn't matter what people follow, what faith they follow, what matters what they can do for Bangladesh. So therefore, I am an example in the United Kingdom who has been honored by Her Majesty the Queen on record 8 occasions, and I'm not even Christian. So therefore, in this country, there are laws. Even in India, there are laws against discrimination. By no country can progress while systematically discriminating against a section of her own population on the basis of religion and gender. As somebody already said, the women empowerment is prerequisite for the society to move forward, because women are the architects of their children. I'm a single parent child. As my father was assassinated for opposing the division of India, he could foretell the consequences of religious disharmony. He warned Mr. Jinnah that if you create a country on the basis of hatred, how will you remove that base? A country created on hatred will continue to generate hatred, to flourish and to move forward. And you can imagine we already had 4 wars, and now we are nuclear adversary. This is not what a religion should be doing. Religion should unite humanity, bring people together so we can live. Look, we should take example of Canada, where Mr. Gora is. We should take example of America or United Kingdom, where we are. We are all making the country stronger, because diversity is a strength. It cannot be a weakness. How can you put people in the religious state jacket? Which people should be liberated. They should be free to do what they want to do, to bring so much to what God has given them to the table. So I am very optimistic. The relationship with India and Bangladesh is set in stone, and it will go from strength to strength. And Bangladesh has become an economic force. Economy is growing. It is now a role model state, and they are also doing a lot of work for climate change, which is a very, very positive step. And I think leaders like Sheikh Hasina are on the right track. They're following the ideal of Bangabandhu, and I think you can't go wrong. Friendship with India is a prerequisite for Bangladesh to remain independent, because India, after winning Bangladesh, gave it back to Bangladeshi people. You mind your own destiny. Chinese or Pakistani, you will have an experience which you will not forget. So therefore, all that glitter is not gold. I won't take too much of your time, but I'm very passionate that India surrounds Bangladesh like a child from three directions to protect you. So therefore, the trade with India, tourism with India, will be a very positive fact between the two countries. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my thoughts, and I love to see the strengthening of relationship with India and Bangladesh going further. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Lord Ranger. It was really an honor and pleasure to listen to your opinions and suggestions of the synergistic relationship which we share between India and Bangladesh, where we complement rather than compete with each other. And your definitely that idea of the museum is something which can be looked into in greater detail. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now welcome our final speaker for today, Dr. Syed Mamun. Syed Mamun is a diplomat. He also holds a PhD from the respectable Said Business School, University of Oxford. He's also involved as a consultant in peacekeeping, peace building, maritime security, international humanitarian law, and laws surrounding armed conflict. Thank you very much, Dr. Mamun, to be live with us all the way from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I would just like to probably ask you, as you are the emerging face of the Bangladesh today, as we see 50 years on, what is your take, especially if you could hint on the geo-economics of 71, when we knew about the jute, the foreign exchange, and the great decade of so-called Ayub Khan, when Islamabad was being built of rubber and steel and glass. So if you could highlight a little bit on that as well, apart from your own personal deliberation. Thank you very much, Dr. Said.
Thank you, Prajit. It was a very kind introduction. And I'd like to pick up on where Lord Ranger had stopped, not only stopped, but spoke about the Holocaust Museum, the religion, and other areas. But I'll speak to your question first and then pick up on there. And thank you, Mr. Gora. It was really illuminating to hear from you and to actually know that someone cared. It's reassuring and very comforting for someone from Bangladesh. Vineet, you're there, and Dr. Tripathi, thank you very much. First of all, you spoke about the economic aspect. We'll start from there. We can actually have the full-fledged pastel framework, political, economic, social, technological, ethical, legal, and other issues as well. But yes, economic issues made the most important part of the reasoning for the war of liberation that we had. The war of liberation that we had in Bangladesh was a people's war. The people fought for it. And in fact, if I could just add that we did not secede from Pakistan. We were the majority in Pakistan. Bengalis were the majority in Pakistan. So we did not secede. The majority never secedes from the country. But the war, and particularly the genocide, was thrust upon us. The way that I look at it, particularly from my own PhD dissertations and also from my own reading on the economy of Bangladesh and the way that the economy of Bangladesh is growing faster than ever before under the stewardship of Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, I could safely assume that a part of the war was also motivated, apart from the religious and other edicts of the essentially the West Pakistani, Punjabi. I'm not speaking against the Punjabi ones, but the demographic or ethnic combination of the West Pakistan military elite was sort of like that. So yes, apart from the religious and social reasoning, A major part was, of course, economic, and I'd be amiss that if we don't think about what East Pakistan had in its store. If you look at the partition of the Indian subcontinent, if you just look at it hypothetically, had the partition not taken place, possibly the most prosperous region of the entire Indian subcontinent would have been Bengal. And whatever is East Bengal, whatever is Bangladesh today, would have probably I'm saying, because it's all hypothetical, because the partition has happened, we like it or not, it has happened, and there are a few countries born out of the matrix of India, Bharat, so it has happened. But had it not happened, the economic realities of Bengal would have ensured that East Bengal would have been the most prosperous of regions. Why? Because of not only the factor endowments, not because of land labor capital, but because of the way that Bengal economy was constructed. Bengal has always been home to entrepreneurship and innovation. Look at it. Bengal had always been a maritime trading nation, and the nation building has been taking place for more than 1,000 years now. Although Bangladesh is a young republic, young post-Westphalian republic, but it is essentially a superscript on a very old civilization. Our recorded history goes back to King Shashanka and possibly before that as well. If you look at the Mahabharata, you'll probably find that King Karna was the king of Vanga, and Vanga was basically the northern part of the southern Bangladesh. So essentially, if you look at the map, you'll see that just beyond the Raha and the Varandra, you'll find the Vanga, which contributed to a great degree to the strength of the Kauravas at that point in time. However, if you look at the numbers, the solid numbers of the day, you'll see that essentially more than 2/3 of the state revenue and also the state wealth of combined Pakistan was contributed by the East. But if you look at the central allocation from Islamabad, or possibly probably Rawalpindi, East Bengal, Bangladesh, or East Pakistan for that matter, at that point in time, received less than 1/4, or close to 23%, yes, close to 23% of the central allocations. So you could just imagine what happens if you continue to do it, compounded for 23 years. A comprehensive deindustrialization, disenfranchisement was taking place. So yes, what you speak about, what we read about of the Ayub Khan era, or Ayub Khan decade of prosperity, it's not exactly the case in eastern part of Bengal. Bengal was thrust back into time and history, deindustrialized, go back, get back in time. And there was a disparity which was enforced, and ensconced in the way that things are. So that's a short answer to a very long question, which could have had probably. I think Dr. Tariq Ali's PhD dissertation would be a good answer to this question, but I'd not like to go into the details of it at this moment. I'd like to pick up on one small thing, the religion. I was just thinking about at this moment that what Bangabandhu would have said. Because you see, as I speak today, Bangladesh is celebrating essentially three things: the golden jubilee of the freedom of Bangladesh. I don't call it independence. We had never been dependent. It's the freedom. We earned freedom. So it's the golden jubilee of freedom of Bangladesh. It's the birth centenary of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And this is also the year that we have successfully elevated ourselves under the stewardship of Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina from being an LDC to a middle-income country. It's not a matter of joke for some country which was called a basket case by very renowned pundits of the international affairs, and also some very strong and powerful entities of the global financial and other orders. I was just trying to find out what Bangabandhu would have said. And Bangabandhu would have said just this much: that Allah, God, is not of Muslims alone. God is Rabbul Alameen, which means He is the creator and sustainer of all creations. That's the way that Bangabandhu was. And if you'd like to understand Bangladesh, no one can understand Bangladesh without understanding Bangabandhu. Bangabandhu was a deeply spiritual person. To him, religion was not really religion, it was dharma. What defines you, what comes from within. So the way that dharma is defined, possibly in the Upanishads or in the Holy Gita, it's possibly a more close answer to what the original tenets of Islam were. Because if you look at Bangladesh, the dominant philosophy of Bangladesh is, or Bengal indeed, is syncretic. So either be a Hindu or a Muslim, or even for that matter be a Christian or a Buddhist, doesn't really matter much. What matters most is that you're deeply respectful to the culture, to the land, Ma Mati Matribhumi, what we call that the mother, the land, Ma Mati, and Matribhumi, your motherland. That's what defines you. So all the religions that we have, we hold everyone in deep respect, in deep esteem. We embrace them. If you look at the Sri Chaitanya in its spelling, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or for that matter, the Islamic preachers that we have, Hazrat Shah Jalal, Shah Paran, and for that matter, Hazrat Sheikh Sharifuddin Chishti, who's lying just beside my office here. We had always espoused the core tenets of Islam, the oldest form of Islam, had rooted itself in Bengal, in East Bengal to be specific. So what you see, the political face, the extreme right-wing, I'd say, political face of Islam is a more recent innovation, and Bangladesh has nothing to do with it. Yes, there is a fringe element always in any society which takes the interpretations or possibly has some other ramifications for those, the interpretations of religious edicts to their own vested agenda. Yes, we also suffer from that, like any other society, like any other country. But in general, Bangladesh, the Bengalis, are far from it. And we are proud to be far from it. Yes, we go back into the roots of it, roots of the religions or the dharma for that matter, but that's who we are as individuals. And any religion is as sacred to us as our own. The Holocaust Museum. We have a Liberation War Museum in Bangladesh, and the Holocaust is something which possibly deeply defines us. As I speak today, I stand on grounds which were soaked by the blood of more than 3 million Bengalis. 200,000 women were raped, women and children. And scores of children, literally thousands of children were sent out of the country after the War of Liberation because they didn't have a parent, the war children. So yes, we are deeply, deeply marked by the War of Liberation. You know, contrary to what someone might tell you, but I might tell you one other thing, or so we might tell you one other thing, that the Bengalis, the Bangladeshis, are deeply respectful for what Indians did in 1971. At the most critical, the darkest hour of our nation, India came forward. India came forward with open arms. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had opened the borders to more than 10 million refugees for more than a year. Indian armed forces shed its blood alongside Bangladeshi Mukti Bahini and the regulars, the freedom fighters from the East Bengal Regiment and also the EPR, East Pakistan Rifles and the police. Alongside them, we had the Mukti Bahini, and with us shed blood by the Indian forces. So we are deeply grateful and will remain grateful. If you look at it, you'll see that in 2012-13, we instituted something called the Friends of Bangladesh Award 1971. We tried to find everyone from every part of the world who had supported the War of Liberation in Bangladesh, because the War of Liberation for Bangladesh was for the highest ideals imaginable by a human being. Ideas of freedom, ideas of democracy, ideas of inclusivity, and ideas of justice. If you look at Bangabandhu's life, you'll see that he always tried to balance his ideas of justice and freedom against an ideal or against the ideas of magnanimity, of humility, of civility. Fast forward 50 years, if you look at the ideas espoused by the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and the current government in Bangladesh, which is there for the last 12 years, 2 consecutive terms, this is also the same set of ideals which define us. We define the state. It's basically a comprehensive state-building narrative which is coming up. The epistemological narrative that Bangladesh espouses is deeply, again I say, deeply marked by the War of Liberation, what we are. That never before and never again. That we have never suffered like this before. Yes, our people died out of famines under the British rule, twice at the least, but not like 1971. And we didn't want anyone from any part of the world suffer like this. That's why the Honorable Prime Minister had opened the border to the Rohingya refugees into Bangladesh. We shelter more than 1.1 million in the current exodus. They are here in Bangladesh. The reason? Because we had been given shelter in 1971 by India when nobody else had come up. We could not close our doors to the Rohingyas. So that is something that keeps on defining us. That is something that keeps on defining the way that we look at life in the future. There are a few other things like the economic stages. I could safely suggest that Bangladesh is out of the vicious clutches of poverty thanks to the prudent policies of the current government, and thanks to the sectors such as agriculture, the ready-made garments, leather, of course, and yes, jute is making a comeback. And if you look at it, you'll see that Bangladesh is growing pretty fast. It has sustained a growth rate of more than 6% for more than a decade, even with the corona, with the COVID-19. Bangladesh has tried to maintain its growth potential, its growth momentum. And if you look at it into the future, you'll see that our growth projections are quite ambitious. And our growth projections are ambitious because of not the regular cycles of economy, but because of the inherent strength of the economic fundamentals. And the economic fundamentals are essentially driven by innovation and entrepreneurship. It's basically like a cycle that we are recycling the way that we have grown up as a nation. That what defines Bengal, what defines Bangladesh, what defines the East Bengal population, to be specific. Because I know Priyajit is from the West and I'm from the East. So what defines us? A Bengali is possibly a Bengali anywhere in this planet. So Bengalis are, of course, defined by the fish Hilsha, and Bengalis are also defined by the Baul music. Bengalis are also defined by Tagore. If you look at my office, you'll find possibly the full set of Tagore. And in any point in time, you'll possibly find that we go back to Tagore in history, in laughter, in music, in culture, in sadness and in sorrow. We go back to Tagore. It doesn't matter if you're a Hindu or a Muslim. Those are very peripheral identities. Those does not define who you are as an individual. The individual that you are is inside you. And that inside, the core of a Bengali is very spiritual, very syncretic. And it embraces the whole of the world. Debe ar nebe, milabe milibe, right? Or possibly something like that. I probably misspelled it. Yes, it's like that. We'd like to give and we'd like to also take. And what is it? It's not really trading. It's about growing. It's about knowing. It's about becoming. So that's what we are. So yes, it starts with economics, but it goes much deeper. It goes to both the political identities that we have and also the social and the cultural aspects that we have. Two things. One is collaboration and competition. We don't believe in competition. We believe that we can grow faster together. So if you look at it, you'll see that Bangladesh is growing very fast. Why? Because we have taken the Indian growth potential as a parallel track. We'd like to grow with India, along with India. It's not that we'd like to grow faster than India, lesser than India. No. Our challenges are very similar. We share a geographic, geostrategic contiguity. So the way that we see our challenges, it's essentially it's the same set of challenges that possibly, if I may speak for the Indian government, it's the same set of challenges. A growing youthful population and a very ambitious mindset. Our people are busy putting food on their platter and also going to Mars. Is the same set of ambitions that you have both in India and in Bangladesh. And if you look at the communities, the expatriate communities across the world, you'll see possibly the same thing. And one other thing is that the institutionalism, the way that our institutions are growing. Yes, I think Mr. Gora had spoken about it. The government is aware of the constitutional and also the political narratives that we espouse as a country. Institutions do matter. Institutions are bigger than the individual. So yes, we're trying to bring back the rule of law. We're trying to bring back the supremacy of the institution. That the institutions are run by certain ideals, certain principles. If you look at it, you'll see that we have essentially reverted our constitution back to its original state. So sovereignty, secularism, these are now part of our own constitution again. And we had veered much away from it. And yes, it had also resulted in deep economic crisis for a while. For more than 20 years, we suffered as a country. And we, if you allow me to say so, we did not suffer only because of ourselves. I think we were abandoned by our friends, and we were also put into a corner by some of our other friends, which is not possibly the right thing to do. So Bangladesh took a challenge, particularly under the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, when we took up the mega project of the Padma Bridge. We have completed the Padma Bridge against essentially opposition by many and very big, large quarters of the global order. So now that we have completed the Padma Bridge, the entire investment climate in Bangladesh has changed. It has been elevated. It's already double B minus, but it will be further elevated because of what the potential suggests. So yes, institutions do matter, the rule of law matters, but most importantly, what matters is the principles which guide us. And if you look at it, the way that we look at Bangladesh, the way that we look at the nation, the way that we look at the society, it doesn't really have any place for contradiction. It is all syncretic. If you have a different faith, if you have a different opinion, you're welcome to express it. But do express that in a way which is civilized, not by burning buses or not by killing people. No, many years before, because like Lord Ranger, I also come from a military family, and I asked many years before to one of my close ones that why do we have swords protecting a, a water lily? Said the water lily is essentially an icon of refinement, of finesse, of suave. So sometimes it so requires that you have to put in hard swords to stop people from stealing it or from harming it. So that's the way that we see it. The institutions protect the finer details of human existence, the way that we are, the way that we belong, the way that we become. So those are the things that define us. Over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Mamoon. I was very fascinated to hear your side of the story. And definitely, I would just like to add to what you mentioned on the cultural confluence or the connect. And you have invoked Tagore, obviously, we can also go to Nazrul, all the legendary poets of Bengal. I would just like to probably quote a very well known poet of Bengal, Annoda Shankar Roy, who has written a few lines on Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the epicenter of the focal point of 1971. In Bengali, it goes, যতদিন পদ্মা মেঘনা গৌরী যমুনা রহিবে বহমান ততদিনই কীর্তি রহিবে তোমার শেখ মুজিবুর রহমান. In English, it translates that till the days the great rivers of Padma, Meghna, Gauri, Yamuna flows on, the accomplishment of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman will live on. That moment we are celebrating today is the 1971 50th anniversary of Bangladesh Liberation War. I would like just to get any final comments from Mr. Gora and Lord Ranger, and obviously you, Dr. Mamoon, before we conclude this event. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Priyajit, and I'm very thrilled to hear all speakers, and it is always an honor to share stage with Honorable Lord Remy. He's such a visionary man, and I always learn from his thoughts. So my conclusive remarks, as I heard Dr. Mamoon, Honorable Lord Ranger, and Bangladesh's success is obviously very obvious, and it is a benchmark for many new nations, and it's a benchmark for precisely Muslim countries in terms of understanding the path of true secularism. I am little relieved to hear Dr. Mamoon, especially that the institutions are very strong in Bangladesh, and that's what we like to see, because Bangladesh has been a hub for cultural and artistic sort of exhibitions of South Asia. So it shall be an honor for me sometime at my age, if I get a chance to visit sometime Bangladesh. I would love to see that art and culture there. What Lord Remy said is very important, that there should be a Holocaust museum, because the new generations otherwise would forget the horrific atrocities committed by Pakistan. And I've been to Israel, and I understand the Jewish community's pain, what they suffered. But the greatest thing they have done to capture all those, historic pages of atrocities they went through. So it is a vital for Bangladesh to have such museum, to have vibrant talk on what they suffered through, because otherwise new generations would indulge into just modern life. They would not be able to recall the atrocities of their own so-called Muslim fellows. They inflicted their terrorist mindset on Bangladesh. So I would strongly urge my Bengali friends to have that kind of Holocaust museum, and not just one museum. There should be some monuments in each and every town of Bangladesh. So that is my emphasis.
Yes, Lord Ranger, please.
Right. I think Mr. Gora has again emphasized it's very important that the next generation should know the price of freedom. So they should not waste it. The opportunity they've been given by the supreme sacrifice of Indian soldier and the volunteers of Mukti Bahini and the people of Bangladesh who suffered, women suffered, children suffered to give you this freedom. It wasn't cheap. It wasn't easy. It was, in fact, very difficult. It's, I call it a miracle because, India took a bold step, and I don't know whether you know the Seventh Fleet was sailing toward the Indian Ocean when the Indian friend, I think it was Nasser, who stopped the Seventh Fleet coming through the Suez Canal. It would have been a very big problem for India to deal with. Uh, and India wasn't economic giant as it is today, and it was also a developing country. It was not given the aid like the Pakistani received from America, the latest planes, later tanks, later guns. They were received, and Americans were supplying them all the satellite imagery or reconnaissance. So it is a miracle, whether you believe it or not. A country who was already struggling economically herself stepped forward to help a fellow human beings. So that is number one. The other thing I would like to say that no state should impose religion upon its citizen. Not every citizen wants to be religious. Religious straitjacket, even the Saudi Arabia is now opening up. We should take example from Dubai, where there are bars, nightclubs, because you don't want to put people in a religious straitjacket and then taking them back to the day religion was created, because the mankind is on the move, because we never, the religion was needed when we were not civilized. Then we were barbaric. There were no penal code. There were no law and order. Might was right. But now we are all civilized. There's a police. There's a penal code. Nobody can take advantage of anyone. So therefore, we should not be giving religious dose to the citizen. And this is why no scientific, technological, medical innovation has come from any religious country apart from scholar of religion hating each other. Therefore, overdose of religion is going to destroy. I mean, who's going to invest in Pakistan where they are going to lynch more people just because somebody said something, or some poor child inadvertently said something? So tolerance is a prerequisite for religious society. So therefore, let's not go down the path where the government is with forcing people to follow a particular kind of religion. Let people have a choice, like India, like all the civilized countries, all the developing progressive countries. Why Indians are now running every blue chip company in the world? Because they are product of secular and democratic country. They are taught to compete on merit. The people who devalue their fellow citizens by using religion, because you are superior because you are Muslim, or you are superior because you're Christian, that doesn't work. Because what works is you have to see what the citizen. I am not a Mahatma Gandhi, so I want to be in suit, tie. I want to drive Rolls Royce. I want to go and have a drink. Not everybody is going to be Mother Teresa. So citizens in one family, I have three children, they're totally different. My middle daughter was so studious. She studied and she topped college. My other daughter like politics. She's in politics. And my youngest daughter is another very clever girl. She work for Google and now studying her own. So people are all different. You can't put them in a religious straight jacket and make sure then give these mullahs, illiterate people who become the custodian of religion, have to teach you how to connect with your maker. Why do you need a middleman? You can connect with your maker anytime you want. So therefore, please keep the secular country going and keep the freedom of people going. Let the industrialists who want to invest in Bangladesh, if the people from America, Canada, Australia, India, they want to come, they want to go to a bar, they want to go to a nightclub, they should have that facility. Otherwise, you will drag your country back to the Stone Ages. And we should learn from Dubai how a desert where they don't even have a drinking water, no vegetation, no vegetable, no fruit, nothing, how they have become oasis in the desert. So I think my request is I was born in Pakistan. I'm a reject of Pakistan because of religion. And today I'm the most decorated man in UK because that just shows religion is poison. If it's given too much, you will destroy your country. The diversity of Pakistan was destroyed before partition. The area where Pakistan was the most prosperous, most vibrant. There was so much diversity. My father pleaded with Jinnah after independence we will together will make a destiny. India will be secular, democratic, one person, one vote. Together, don't fall for the British divide and rule policy. Don't cut and run because you will never. And look what his prediction was. He said, and now the white elephant army of Pakistan is destroyed democratic institution of Pakistan. घोड़ा घास से दोस्ती करेगा तो खाएगा क्या? If army can never expect peace with India because they will lose all the perks and benefits. And you are very lucky in Bangladesh, you don't have animosity or rivalry with India. So therefore, you don't need a huge white elephant army. So continue to go on the path of friendship and learn from the history of Pakistan, a prosperous country. Look, Maharaja Ranjit Singh time, Punjab, one of the prosperous state. They've destroyed it now. They don't even have the money. They're totally bankrupt economy. Nobody wants to go because the fanatics are ruled. There's no law and order. So please, 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 let's copy what we want to be. If you want to copy India, copy India. Want to copy Saudi Arabia, then you make sure you have oil and you also have Mecca. So otherwise, you copy somebody, you will not be genuine. So just live within the Bangladesh resources, the people. Bengalis are very intelligent people intellectually. I know from India side Bengal, the Nobel laureate was the one who wrote the national anthem, both the country, Rabindranath Tagore. He wrote the national anthem of Bengal, Bangladesh and India. Look how much commonality we have. And the Bengali people dominate India's culture, cinemas, films, you name it, the music industry, because they are not suppressed. They are allowed to express themselves. So look at why the Bengali people from Bengal are dominating all the civil service, all the top jobs in India, and how the cultural poetry and all this come from Bengal because they are a product of secular. I'm a Sikh, and I enjoy more freedom in India than I would. Sikh religion originate from Pakistan, and look what they've done to us. Yes, so therefore, religion, I stay away from religion. It is nothing but to divide humanity. So we should have a personal religion, should be a personal matter. I can't force my religion upon anyone. So I think let's not take too much on that. Let's copy India, United Kingdom, Canada, America. They were Christian countries. They changed the constitution to give people freedom to worship, freedom to choose. They're giving money to make churches. To mosques or the mandirs or the gurdwara. They give, okay, make it. Because diversity, we have enriched this country. We have brought curry, we brought culture, cinema, colorful dresses, music, bhangra. You just can't just put people in one color of people. Diversity is Allah's will, not my will. It's Allah. He made it like us. So anyway, on that note, I wish Bangladesh a very prosperous, happy future, and may you continue to be a beacon of hope for millions of Bengalis who wants to realize their ambition, aspiration in a free Bangladesh, away from religious straitjacket and countries where people are suppressed like North Korea, Iran, China. People can't develop wholesomely if they are suppressed either by state or by religion. So I think human beings should be given full freedom to flourish, and then you will have the iPhone 15, iPhone 16, latest webinar, latest this technology, which benefit humanity in real term. If today we don't have medicine, we don't have all the electronics gadget which you use in your room, they're all made by Christian or Jewish people. If you are you will not even have medical. If you kill all the Jews, you will not even have anything to. Anyway, you have my message. So let's just be like India.
Thank you very much, Lord. And I think you were referring to the Indo-Soviet military pact about when you spoke about the Seventh Fleet. Very shortly, I'm very sorry, Dr. Mamoon, couple of minutes, your final submission, please. We're running out of time. Extremely sorry.
Thank you very much. I'll just go by two things. First is the Holocaust Museum. That's a fascinating idea, because that's something that attracts to the soul of Bangladesh. And in fact, I had just told someone long before that if you'd like to, never believe a government officer. Don't believe anything that we say. You just go to each of the villages, each of the 85,000 villages that we have in Bangladesh, and make a count for yourself. How many were killed in each village in 1971? Then you will see exactly how many were killed in 1971. Look at the Bengali figures and look at the Indian soldiers figure. You will know for yourself. You don't have to believe anything that I say. But yes, that's very important. As Lord Ranger had said, that the price to freedom, that how much we have paid for, and we have paid for in blood. I keep telling my officers here that you see each single centimeter of Bangladesh land is basically soaked with the blood of a freedom fighter. Someone or the other had died in this part of this planet to just safeguard his or her motherland. On a different tone, I'm also the Director General for International Trade, Investment and Technology for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I'd be expecting a visit from our friends from abroad and from everywhere to visit Bangladesh, and particularly on the 50th year of our independence, our freedom, and also the friendship that we have with India, the abiding friendship that we have with India. There might be hiccups, there might be glitches, but it must not come to a halt or anything ever again, because that's not who we are. We don't see the entire Indian subcontinent as fragmented regions. It's one block of people, it's one block of environment, it's one block of climate, it's one block of identity, South Asian identity, the Indian subcontinent identity. Mr. Gora, your Mast Kalandar, the songs that you have, and also the spiritual traditions that Pakistan had, and also Lord Ranger, the Sikh traditions, are they also not ours in the eastern part of Bengal? They're very much ours. And our poetry is also very much part of the Sikh traditions. So if you look at the 5 books that the Granth Sahib has, at least one part is very much influenced by a Bengali poet. And to us, poetry is as good as divinity, because our poets did not really speak about or did not really speak much about the more tangible details of it, but they spoke of divinity. They spoke of how life is connected to each other. So as I was quoting Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, that God is not of Muslims alone. God is the sustainer of all creations, and not only men or women, but also of all creations. And by that, I must mention one thing, that Bangladesh has done one thing very successfully. We have tried to mainstream gender. So if you look at it, you'll see that many of our parliamentarians and influential politicians come from climate adverse areas, and those are essentially women. And our women folk have really established themselves in the economic and also the political and also the administrative domains. And it is also one of the core priority areas of the Honorable Prime Minister, that women are treated with the respect and honor that they so deserve. They're equal partners in decision making. They're not a protected community per se, but they're equal partners in decision making. So those are the few things. There's so many things to speak about, but definitely we're open, and we're open for business. So I'd request that you come down to Bangladesh, have a cup of tea or coffee with us, and let us talk.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to all our guest speakers who has taken time out from their busy schedule to attend this very important webinar. We are very hopeful that in future we'll have more events like this from the Nehru Center platform. We wish you all the very best. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Jai Hind. Long live India Bangladesh friendship. Thank you.